Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this, shall we? Today, we're embarking on this absolutely fascinating investigative journey into our deepest past. We're going to try to figure out exactly why our modern brains are so hardwired to believe. Think of us as historical detectives tracking down the literal origins of human belief. And we aren't just looking at recorded history here. No, we're looking at the very dawn of human cognition itself.
It sounds like a simple question, right? But it's actually incredibly difficult to answer. What was the first religion? When we hear that, our modern minds naturally just jump to the oldest organized faiths we know today. Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, or maybe the ancient pantheons of Egypt or Mesopotamia. We instinctively look for a name, a founder, or a holy book. But to truly crack this historical cold case, we've got to totally challenge those modern assumptions.
Part 1. The real beginning of religion.
So, to find that real beginning, we have to realize our search takes us far, far beyond modern empires or grand temples. I mean, if we go back 2,000 years, we find Christianity. 1,400 years, we find Islam. 3,000 years, we hit the oldest Vedic traditions. But human history didn't just start there. People were living, loving, hunting, and surviving tens of thousands of years before the very first word was ever written down. For the longest time, we were kind of stuck looking at history strictly through the lens of modern religion. But over the last 150 years or so, fields like archaeology, anthropology, and genetics have completely flipped our understanding upside down. Instead of just looking for lost books, researchers started looking at prehistoric human behavior. Basically, we had to stop looking for missing texts and start reading the dirt.
Part 2. Secrets of Caves and Graves.
Let's step into those dark, ancient caves, where the very first clues of religious thought were discovered, just hidden right there in the earth. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to anchor ourselves in deep time. Look at the massive, staggering leaps in time here. We're talking 100,000 years ago for the first intentional burials, 36,000 years ago for deep cave art, and 9600 BCE for the first megaliths. It brilliantly illustrates just how much cognitive evolution happened way before humanity ever even thought about developing writing. Now look at the specific clues found in places like the Skul and Kafsehei caves in Israel, dating back an astonishing 100,000 years. Early humans and Neanderthals didn't just leave their dead behind, they intentionally placed them in the ground, sometimes leaving stone tools or animal horns right there with the bodies. Think about this logically for a second. If you're part of a starving hunter-gatherer group where literally every single calorie counts, digging a deliberate, thought-out grave is a massive waste of precious energy, unless, of course, that act held a deep, profound meaning. It really points to a budding belief that death just wasn't the absolute end of the line.
Fast forward with me to about 36,000 years ago. In caves like Chauvet, Altamira, and Lascaux in Europe, we find these absolutely breathtaking paintings of wild bulls, horses, and lions. But you know what? The real mystery isn't the art itself, it's the location. These were painted deep inside pitch-black cave systems where natural light never, ever reaches. I mean, they had to use torches just to get in there. That level of dedication signifies a massive cognitive leap. Humans weren't just purely surviving anymore. They were engaging in symbolic meaning and perhaps early shamanic rituals.
Now, while historians don't call this an organized religion per se, this behavior points to what anthropologists call animism. It's really the foundational baseline of early religious thought, observed in ancient hunter-gatherer societies all across the globe. To them, a forest wasn't just wood, a river wasn't just water, and a mountain definitely wasn't just rock. Everything possessed its own distinct spirit, power, and essence. It was a worldview where humanity felt deeply, intimately connected to the natural world. Actually, it's something a lot of us still feel a little hint of when we're walking through a quiet, ancient forest today, right?
Part 3. Göbekli Tepe, a new turn. History is full of surprises, and in 1994, archaeologists discovered a major, game-changing plot twist on a hill in southeastern Turkey. Welcome to Göbekli Tepe. This site completely upended our entire timeline of human civilization. It dates all the way back to 9600 BCE. To put that into perspective, that is thousands of years older than Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids. It features these massive T-shaped stone pillars, up to 6 meters tall and weighing several tons, intricately carved with snakes, foxes, vultures, and boars. And the sheer impossibility of this whole shebang? It was built by hunter-gatherers, before agriculture, before cities, before the wheel. It is literally mind-blowing. It proves that early, pre-agricultural shared beliefs were powerful enough to organize massive communal labor. It looks like religion might have actually birthed civilization, and not the other way around.
Part 4. The Written History of Gods.
So as humanity settled down, villages turned into massive cities, and belief shifted from a deeply personal experience to a communal identity. With the emergence of writing around 3500 BCE, our clues transitioned from silent stones to clay tablets. And we can vividly see how two massive, contemporary civilizations utilized religion in entirely different ways. In Mesopotamia, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, religion was deeply blended with the economy. Temples served as administrative and agricultural hubs, managing grain, trade, and daily city survival. Meanwhile, ancient Egypt focused intensely on eternity, the afterlife, cosmic balance, known as Ma'at, and bodily preservation. It's in Mesopotamia where we get our very first recorded names of specific deities. We see Anu in the sky, Enlil controlling the wind and power, Inanna commanding love, war, and fertility, and Enki ruling water, knowledge, and creation. The Mesopotamians used these named gods to make sense of the chaotic forces of nature and the daily, grinding struggles of city life. People prayed to them for rain, good harvests, and basic protection.
Now that survival-focused mindset contrasts sharply with Egypt. For the Egyptians, death was definitely absolutely not the end. Their path to eternity involved mummification to preserve the physical body for the soul's eventual return. But more importantly, the soul faced judgment before the god Osiris, where a person's heart was literally weighed against the feather of Ma'at, representing truth and justice. Concepts like honesty and justice weren't just secular laws. No, they were strict religious duties absolutely required for your eternal survival.
Part 5. Indus, Vedas, and Monotheism.
Let's shift our focus over to the Indian subcontinent and West Asia, where we can trace the complex historical roots of some of the world's major surviving religious traditions. Between 3300 and 1300 BCE, the incredible Indus Valley civilization thrived with advanced cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. But I gotta tell you, they are incredibly frustrating for historians. Why? Because we still can't read their handwriting. Their script remains entirely undeciphered. We have these fascinating clues like the famous, highly debated Pashupati seal, which some think might be an early Proto-Shiva, and various unconfirmed mother goddess figurines. But until we can actually read their words, their exact religious beliefs remain this tantalizing, unsolved puzzle. Following that era, the Indian subcontinent saw the rise of the Vedic tradition, composed roughly between 1500 and 1200 BCE. But here is the most astounding fact about them. They weren't written down for centuries. Instead, they were preserved through incredibly rigorous oral preservation systems. Using complex phonetic techniques like Samhita, Pada, Krama, Jata, and Ganapatha, thousands of hymns were passed down from teacher to student with absolutely flawless phonetic accuracy. It's honestly one of the most sophisticated oral preservation systems in human history.
The early Vedic religion was deeply, deeply connected to nature and cosmic order through fire rituals and chants. Deities like Indra, god of rain and thunder, Agni, the god of fire, Varuna, maintaining cosmic order, and Usha, goddess of the dawn, all represented the natural forces interacting with humanity. Over time, these early ritualistic traditions evolved, giving rise to deep philosophical texts like the Upanishads, which eventually blossomed into what we broadly recognize today as Hinduism, making it one of the oldest continuous religious traditions on Earth.
Concurrently, over in West Asia, a completely different theological evolution was taking place, the rise of monotheism. In early antiquity, early Israelite traditions gradually focused on a single supreme creator, forming the foundation of Judaism. Then, from this Abrahamic root, Christianity emerged in the 1st century CE, radically transforming the religious landscape of the Roman Empire and beyond. Fast forward to the 7th century CE, and Islam emerges in the Arabian Peninsula. Islam saw itself historically and theologically as the direct continuation of that exact same Abrahamic tradition of prophets, including Abraham, Musa, and Isa.
Part 6. Which was the first religion?
Okay, we have traveled from dark caves and buried bones to the towering pillars of Göbekli Tepe, the clay tablets of Mesopotamia, the oral perfection of the Vedas, and the sweeping history of monotheism. We are now armed with tens of thousands of years of historical evidence. So, we return to our central mystery. Let's challenge ourselves to synthesize everything we've just explored. After sifting through all this dirt, stone, and text, can history actually name the very first religion?
The historian's ultimate verdict is, well, no. We can't pinpoint a single origin. History reveals a gradual, beautiful evolution of thought.
The rigid structure of what we call a religion today, with a set book, a title, and an organized institution, that simply didn't exist in the prehistoric mind. Human belief morphed and adapted over time. It went from placing horns in graves, to painting deep in caves, to carving massive stone pillars, to writing laws on clay, and eventually evolving into the wonderfully diverse faiths we know today.
Ultimately, the lack of a single name isn't a failure of history. It's a testament to human nature. The search for the first religion is actually the story of human curiosity itself. The true origin of all human belief is that innate, undeniable urge to look up at a sky full of stars, to ponder the mysteries of life and death, and simply ask, why? And I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If early humans looking at the stars birthed the concept of the divine, what new beliefs will we create when we finally travel among them? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep staying curious.